Land and who owns it? It's a defining question in South Africa. It began with the conquest of the land more than 4 centuries ago, and ever since, land and race have been inextricably linked.
We need our land back. That's it. And they are going to grab it by force.
Now, an ANC government is promising it'll give land to landless blacks by taking it from white farmers.
The Constitution, as it stands, does not impede expropriation of land without compensation.
Ramaphosa is under pressure to take action. It's estimated only 10% of commercial farmland has been redistributed, compared to the 30% promised by Mandela back in 1994. And the budget for land reform is just 0.4% of the national total. But to understand the passions raised, you have to go back into history. The first settlers grew vegetables here below Cape Town's Table Mountain, soon after the first Dutch traders arrived in 1652. Much of this land, taken through conquest and displacement of black South Africans, is still owned by white Afrikaners today. To try and legitimise the seizure of land, the white minority used the law.
Apartheid. I'm afraid that has been misunderstood so often. It could just as easily, and perhaps much better, be described as a policy of good neighbourliness.
The 1913 Natives Land Act allocated only around 7% of arable land to non-whites. Blacks could only own land in what were called native reserves, overcrowded and impoverished. And they weren't allowed to purchase or hire land in white areas. Over the decades, blacks were gradually forced into ever smaller portions of land. 72% of the land would end up in the hands of just 9% of the population.
I'm suffering. I won't be the same like white people. I'm suffering because I'm black.
There's Mr. Mandela, a free man taking his first step.
With the release of Nelson Mandela in 1990, there was hope for freedom, jobs and land. But change provoked a violent backlash among some Afrikaners, who joined an extremist militia, vowing civil war to keep the land and swearing they'd never live under black rule. With policemen and demonstrators shot and Ventersdorp in a virtual state of siege, President de Klerk must now be wondering whether he made the right decision in coming here to the citadel of the white right wing. Civil war didn't happen. Compromise prevailed. A new order came into being.
Each time one of us touches the soil of this land, we feel a sense of personal renewal.
25 years on, there's a crisis over who owns that soil. With an election looming, the ANC is threatened by more radical groups like the Economic Freedom Fighters.
We must be prepared for everything. It's a war.
After years in which they allowed the land issue to drift, the ANC is promising to end the willing buyer, willing seller system and take land without compensation. All of this summoned up memories of the chaotic land invasions in Zimbabwe.
The violent nature of Zimbabwe's land reform program is undeniable.
Here in South Africa, the government faces a perilous balancing act. Because if they take too much land, it runs the risk of scaring away international investors needed to revive the economy. Too little, and you betray the promise of freedom. But Cyril Ramaphosa is a pragmatist. He's appointed a team of experts from across the racial divide to advise him on land reform. Compromise will be essential. His task is huge.